All right, welcome everyone. This is the weekly API work group meeting. They do have an agenda today. Let me put that up so we can work from that. So I put together an agenda. Essentially, I've went ahead and created a spot out on the OPI org to kind of keep track of at least the agenda, the meeting minutes, etc. It seems to be, we're getting a lot of stuff in the GitHub space, and I was like, well, maybe we should put it out on the wiki for the time being. So,
Hey Mark, quick question on that.
Sure.
I noticed yesterday when I clicked on it, it sent me to like the higher level page, and it took me like 3 circles of sublink to realize that I wasn't a member of the group and I couldn't view it.
Oh,
At the
okay.
time, there was only like 4 members, so I went ahead and joined, so I was able to see it. But I don't know, is there a reason for that to be locked down to only members?
No, I don't think it should be. So let me get
There.
with the administrators and see if we
If you
can get
go
it
to
unlocked.
the like one up the wiki page,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think it's or go one more than the subgroup.
Yeah.
It's like the something right. One of the wiki is visible like on the right side, group settings. It
Yep.
says wiki is visible to only members only. So
Okay.
that might be the setting that needs to get changed.
All right. Let me go figure out if I can make the change to the setting or if I got to get the administrator to do it.
Yeah,
I
because
don't
you can
know.
see
I
there's
don't
only
know if I
6.
have rights.
Yeah, no, that's cool. But there's only 6 members of the group, so there's only
Yeah.
a few people will be able to see it. So just as
Yeah.
a note for future.
And that's why I wanted to announce it again here so that maybe we can get a lot more of the folks that join to jump into this also, because it is a good place to capture stuff into the wiki, as well as we can set up various message discussions here.
Yeah,
So,
no, I liked it. So just as a
okay. Yeah, let me see what I can do by getting that fixed. All right, let me go back to where we were. Okay. One of the things I wanted to bring up is we could really use reviewers and contributors across all of this. I talked about this just briefly in the TSC call this morning. Let me find the right page on here. If I can get my computer to cooperate, I think it's this one. Yeah. If you look out within the OPI project, and of course, you'll see we've got like 153 pull requests that are out there. So it would be really good that if we can come up with a list of folks that can review different implementations of the different bridges or address, contributions is always welcome, but it's mainly I want to look at, can we get reviewers to help with this? We've got only 3 maintainers right now. Once someone is in and follows the maintainers guidelines, we can elevate people to also become maintainers. So just wanted to put that out there to the team here. I'll be doing the same thing in the TSC meeting next week. There's a lot of issues that we need to work through. Again, we've got 264 issues that are out there in the different repositories. This is picking up on 26 repositories. Right now we have 29 repositories within the OPI project. Many of them are, bridge implementations or POC type solutions, as well as the API. So there's a lot of areas where help could be used around that. So that's really what's going on from that perspective. If we look at the API project itself, as soon as I can find it again. Sorry, I thought I had some of these pulled up. Here we go. If we look at the API project and we just have a few pull requests, and those are right now being worked. We're trying to get some of these closed out and addressed. So I'm actually working with our tech to do that. Some of the things that we have to go back is to review some of these older ones and make some decisions. So I may be reaching out to some of you folks here to find out, is this particular PR that's sitting here and, you know, things that have been out here since, say, July or earlier of last year, do we still need them, or do we just need to put them into an archive or close them out? So I'll reach out to everybody related to that. We've also got a series of issues that we need to work through. So any assistance that can be done related to looking at some of these issues would be helpful, because what we'd like to do is get the API things cleaned up, and we'd like to move everything to automation where we don't have to worry about when you make a change to the API, you have to then yourself as a contributor build the API environment, make sure that it gets checked in so that it runs through all the tests. We want to take all of the auto-generated files that we have set up through Makefiles, etc., move that into a separate repo, and then be able to ensure that, you know, when there's a new check-in of a new API, it will then update that repo and then flag all of the things that may need to be addressed. So we're working on trying to automate that and make it easier for contributors to put things into the API. So just passing out on it. If there's any questions or anything, just let me know. Let me pull up the participants in case somebody raises their hands too. All right. So from that perspective, that covers the things that I wanted to talk about in terms of, you know, where we could use help and assistance across the entire OPI project. In terms of use cases, right now we've got one active use case, which is the EVPN gateway and the associated CNI interface that's being worked. Demetrius and the Intel team have been working on putting that in. We have a new repository that's going to go into. He's working on moving the PR that they already have in place over to that new repository, and then we'll go back through the review process for that. So please be aware of that. And in fact, if anybody wants to volunteer to be reviewers across any of these different projects, that would be great. That way we can have a reviewers list that we can draw on for the different PRs so we can get lots of feedback on things. The other use cases that we identified back when we were talking about the different networking capabilities that we needed to look at was, one was a tunnel gateway. So right now we've kind of have an IPsec gateway type implementation, but we also discussed having Geneve and other types of gateways in there. So there's an area that we need to start thinking about. So if anybody on the call has thoughts around tunnel gateway, we'd like to start thinking about that. The other use case that we brought up was around TLS offload, TLS termination, and TLS proxy. This was kind of a security aligned use case that in the discussions, it was felt that this is something beneficial for the entire community, and customer interest seems to be around providing security capabilities such as TLS offload, so that you can essentially remove that load from the CPU complex. So if there's thoughts around how we want to go about implementing a TLS offload, termination, or proxy, that will also be a beneficial thing to start working toward. So if you've got any ideas around this, please put them forward. I'm trying to carve out time so I can start thinking about it also, but I'd also like others to put feedback into that. Are there other use cases that we also need to consider? I know in the past we've done a lot of discussions about different CNI interfaces. I think that's an important aspect that we need to bring forward, but I know lately and with the holidays, everything's gone kind of quiet. So should we also put CNI as one of the use cases or key components that we should consider? And I'll put that out to the community. Okay. So we don't have a very lively crew, but all right. So that one, I will put it out there as tentative. And so we can work forward from that. Another area that we could use some help with, and I have it labeled in some of the other topic area, is really we have a Python implementation of kind of a DPU CLI. That repo is somewhat out of date as most of the work's been going on within the Go. So we definitely need updates on the PyDPU repo for the EPN gateway and protobuf implementations there. So if anybody wants to help or contribute in that area, it would be beneficial to the overall community if you can jump in there. And
I'm not volunteering. I don't really know Python that well, but what is the what's the PyDPU? What is that again? I didn't quite catch what it was.
Oh, it's real. It's so like we have the Go DPU. That's a Go CLI that is used to do test exercises on the various Go implementations that we have. The PyDPU is more of a Python CLI type interface that can also be used to exercise the protobuf generated files and test out the Python implementation.
Okay, so it's a test tool. It's mainly
yes.
what it's used for.
Yeah, PyDPU it can be a CLI on its own, but we've primarily been using GoDPU and PyDPU as test tools.
I mean, yeah, it can be used as a test tool, but it is an actual networking CLI. I mean, from VPN gateway perspective, we are using that. We're not using PyDPU, we're using GoDPU, but it is the main CLI that we are using in order to create objects against the gRPC server.
Yep. Yeah.
So I'm interested in PyDPU, and I have a PR almost ready that I don't submit, but not in the CLI capability, but in like Python library capability to import it and use it in my scripts in order to configure OPI.
Okay.
So I don't use it as a CLI. I use it as a pip install, import, and then write my own Python scripts that make use of this library. And so far, I've been using the gRPC file kind of directly from it. So it will, I will really benefit out of an update. And the other part is I care to have the flexibility, not necessarily of the CLI, but of a automated portion, basically. So I can use it from my scripts.
Okay. So yeah, does that help, Billy, in terms of explaining all the uses?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, any help that we can get around that. Again, a lot of the things that I'm pointing out, we use the APIs in all of the different pieces. So even though a lot of the work in the group here is focused on the API, we do have arms and legs into all of the different bridge implementations and all of the different tools, capabilities, libraries, etc., that can be leveraged here. So anything that we can do to help that out is always beneficial. Okay. That was all I had in the agenda. I haven't had a chance to dig in and start thinking about use cases, at least at this point. Again, this is more of a call out to everybody to say, if you can think of things or start thinking about how a tunnel gateway API would need to look, or a TLS offload API would need to look. And again, we should also add in the use cases, the generic CNI type of implementation, I think we should start fleshing out those particular API solutions. The only other thing I can bring up in here, I know that there's a big thrust across the industry right now going on to tie together IPUs, DPUs type solutions with AI and GPU fabrics. So it may be beneficial to also start thinking about what an AI type of API would look like for the DPU, IPU solutions that are out there. So I'll put that one forward as another area that probably we will need to start considering and thinking about within the work group, and then trying to see how we can flush that out and build it into the solutions. So any additional thoughts from the group here? I know I've covered several things in the past 15, 20 minutes, but I don't see any other topics, at least at this point, to bring up. So is there anything that the group wants to bring up or discuss? Okay, so with that, I will go ahead and wrap up the meeting, close things out. Everybody have a great week. We'll get together next week, and hopefully we'll have more detailed things that we can start discussing around some of these solutions. And again, I'll update the use case set to include the other two things that I just brought up. Okay, thanks everyone.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.